I told my daughter that I absolutely do not support her only wanting to be a stay-at-home mom. My daughter Emma just turned 18 and graduated high school 2 months ago. Since she was about 15, she's been talking about how she doesn't want to go to college or get a job. She wants to find a husband and be a stay-at-home mom, period. That's it. That's her entire life plan. At first I thought it was just teenage talk, like how kids say they want to be astronauts or YouTube stars. But she's been dead serious about it for 3 years now. No college applications, no job hunting, nothing. She spends most of her time watching these TikTok videos about traditional wives and reading blogs about homemaking. Last month, she came to me with what she called her life plan. She was going to live at home with me and my husband until she found a husband. She figured she'd meet someone at church or maybe through friends, marry them within a year or two, then have kids right away. When I asked what she'd do if something happened to her hypothetical husband, she just shrugged and said she'd move back in with us. I lost it. I told her that wasn't happening. If she wanted to live at home after graduation, she needed to either get a job or go to school, community college, trade school, something. She didn't have to get a 4-year degree, but she needed some kind of plan that didn't involve sitting around waiting for Prince Charming. She started crying and said I was being mean and that being a mom was a real job. I told her I wasn't saying being a mom wasn't work, but what happens if her husband dies or leaves or gets disabled? What if they can't have kids? What if he turns out to be abusive? She needed something to fall back on. That's when she dropped the bomb. She said her backup plan was literally me and my husband. If anything went wrong, she'd just move back home and we'd support her and any kids she might have. I asked what would happen if we died or couldn't help anymore, and she said, "I don't know, Mom, this is ridiculous. None of it is going to happen." I told her she was being naive and that I wouldn't enable this fantasy. I said if she graduated and didn't have a job or wasn't in school by September, she'd need to find somewhere else to live. She could come back when she had a real plan. She ran to her room crying, and my husband came in asking what all the yelling was about. When I explained, he said maybe I was being too harsh. Emma's always been a homebody, and maybe forcing her out wasn't the answer, but I stood my ground. The next day, Emma's grandmother called me screaming. Emma had called her crying about how I was kicking her out for wanting to be a traditional wife. My mother-in-law went on this whole rant about how back in her day, women didn't need careers, and how I was being a terrible feminist mother for not supporting my daughter's choices. Then Emma's best friend's mom texted me saying I was wrong for not respecting my daughter's dreams. Apparently, Emma had been telling everyone I was forcing her to abandon her values and become some kind of career-obsessed woman who doesn't want kids. But that's not what I said at all. I never said she couldn't be a stay-at-home mom. I said she needed a backup plan, some kind of skill or education or work experience. Even just working part-time at Target would give her basic customer service skills and show her what it's like to earn her own money. The whole thing came to a head last week when Emma announced she'd joined some online matchmaking group for traditional wives. She showed me this website where women post profiles talking about how they want to be homemakers, and men look for wives who'll stay home. Some of these women were 18, 19 years old, talking about how they're looking for older men who can financially support them immediately. I told her she was basically looking for someone to take care of her like a child, not a partner. That set her off again. She screamed that I didn't understand her generation, that I was stuck in some second-wave feminist mindset, and that plenty of women choose to be traditional wives. My husband finally stepped in and said we needed family counseling. Emma refused. She said she'd rather move out than listen to some therapist tell her that her dreams were wrong. So I told her fine, start packing. She's been staying with her grandmother for the past week.